Hello, and welcome to Coffee with Kia. I'm Cassie Benedict, Director of Outreach Services with Kia. Imagine that.
Where do you work?
Let's just keep going.
I'm Keith Ritchie, Assistant Director of Outreach Services, and I'm thrilled to work for Kia.
Also, and today we have someone who doesn't work for Kia with us.
I'm Michelle Standridge. I am Director of Financial Aid at Spalding University, but I'm also the President of KASFAA, our Kentucky Association for Student Financial Aid Administrators.
So you may realize we're coming to you on location again. We're making this a habit. We came to you last month from Kentucky ACAC Conference, and this month we are at the KASFAA Conference, Spring Conference. We're here in Lexington at the Campbell House. And Keith, it's been a minute.
It has.
We have not had a podcast.
I guess was our last one Owensboro, right?
In
for
Owensboro, Kentucky ACAC. Yeah. So we know how much you've missed us. We know that you have been watching Spotify to see when that new episode pops up. So welcome to episode 9, where we spill the tea about all things financial aid. We are thrilled to be coming to you today on location from KASFAA. We, as Kia, as an organization, we have, I'm getting a weird look from my producers. No, they just look weird. We have been coming to this conference for a million years, and it is hands down one of my favorite conferences, especially for those involved in financial aid. It is a phenomenally informational conference.
Yeah, every time I've ever been to a KASFAA conference, I walk away with so much knowledge that I didn't have before. Right. And just sometimes, it's therapeutic to just hear from other folks working in this line of work, just to kind of just have that experience of like, oh, they deal with the same kind of things that we do. Right. But like we've got something in common.
They're just as frustrated.
Exactly. Yeah.
The networking, I think, is huge as well. So we are going to talk to you today a lot about KASFAA. We're going to talk to you about financial aid. We're going to talk to you about some updates because in the world of FAFSA right now, all we got is updates and more delays. But first, a little coffee talk. In Kentucky, spring break was last week. So tell us about your spring break. And actually, I'll say, Michelle and I were talking before this, and she said, I work in financial aid.
What is spring break?
Right. Yeah.
Well, at Spalding, we run on 6-week sessions. So our spring break has not happened.
Okay.
So I worked for spring break.
Right.
But there are good times coming. So we're looking at a family trip, probably to Florida, everyone to go away. So pause on spring break for me.
So when is yours coming?
It's going to be a summer break because my kids are grown. So we're going to wait until they can all take some time off and get, some PTO time and do that.
Oh, that's cool.
So you're telling me your kids still want to travel with you even when they're grown?
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I still want them around.
Yes. Yeah. I want to have that relationship with my kids where they still want a vacation with me. Yeah. I mean, they don't want a vacation with me now, but maybe when they're older.
Maybe you'll win them over by the time they're adults.
When you're paying for it.
Right.
Yeah. Oh,
that'll recognize that. Yeah.
That'll do it. Keith, did you get to take a spring break?
I did. Yeah. I went to the widely known spring break destination of Chicago. So we took the girls up to Chicago, and it was raining and snowing the entire time. And
lovely spring weather.
Right, yeah. So we did a lot of indoor activity. I mean, we still had a blast. My kids get a kick out of Chicago with all the trains and just the big city. And we went to the aquarium and the museums and did all of that stuff, and we had a blast. But the one thing I wanted to do, as you all know, I like sports, and we go to a lot of sporting events and stuff. So I really had it on my to-do list to go to a Cubs game when we were up there. But I also don't like being cold and wet, out in the rain. So neither do my kids. As much as I hate it, they hate it worse. So I was a little bummed about the Cubs thing. So then I got a genius idea, spur of the moment. I'm like, well, we're already in Chicago. So I loaded them up into the van, and we drove up to Milwaukee, Wisconsin to go to a Brewers game because they have a retractable roof in their stadium. So it was 6 inches of snow outside, but inside was a perfect 70 degrees. Yeah, so we had a blast up there.
Amazing.
What about you, Cass?
That's making the most of it, Keith.
That's right.
Let's talk about making the most of it. The way I made the most of my spring break was because I did take the week off. And actually really off. I didn't work too much during the week. My 5-year-old twins had their tonsils taken out. on Wednesday. So we did do some fun things. Like I took him to a zoo on Monday. We went to Chuck E. Cheese. Like we should all have like hepatitis B by now. Right. So we played at a Chuck E. Cheese all day. And then we went to a museum. We had like a museum day, and then like early Wednesday morning, we went to the hospital. They had their tonsils removed. So we spent the rest of the week like eating popsicles, eating ice cream, in pain. I am clinically insane. So I have also brought them with me to conference. And they are upstairs in the hotel room, totally unsupervised. Eating popsicles and ice cream. No, they're with my, I have 2 nannies with me. So, why not just bring the whole family to the conference, work, help plan the conference, bring the kids, stay up all night eating popsicles.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I love that you brought 2 nannies because you got to have the right ratio. There,
right?
Right. Yeah.
The nannies need to be able to give each other a break.
Exactly.
This is my break. So, but yeah, that's how I really enjoyed spring break was we had double surgery. So, definitely.
I don't suggest that.
No. The doctors wanted to do 3 of my children at once. And after having lived it, I could not have done a 3rd one. Like 2 was hard enough, is currently hard enough. Like, we're good. All right. I have a second coffee talk topic this morning because why not talk about things that people only marginally care about? Let's talk about the solar eclipse that happened in Kentucky. We were very close. Some parts of Kentucky were in totality. We were very close to totality. Did you guys get to see the solar eclipse?
I did. So I was like, I'm going to work. Yeah. And then as I watched the light outside change and get just eerie from a movie, I was like, I'm going to have to go outside. So, the campus had the glasses. So everybody was out in one of our green spaces and it was awesome. It was really awesome to watch, everything that went, and people had brought kids and just watching the kids and how excited they got. So to be able to have lived that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I live in Cincinnati, and so we were just outside of the totality. Like the west side of Cincinnati was like in the darkness or whatever. So I'm on the east side of Cincinnati. So it got darker. It had that eerie feeling. It wasn't like the totality or whatever, but I was really excited about it. And I know I had talked to you that morning. Right. I was kind of on the fence on maybe like packing the kids up because they closed all the schools up in Cincinnati for this. And so my kids were out of school and stuff. So I did have the idea to like drive across town to go do the totality. Then I'm like starting to look at traffic maps. I'm like, it gets dark. I've seen that happen before, so
darkness.
I mean, I see that like every day.
Yeah.
So I didn't end up loading them up, and I actually thought it was really cool, and I was really excited to get my kids involved with it because I thought they would think it was really cool. Yeah. They were unimpressed, to be honest. I mean, they're 7 and 5. I think they thought like a lot more was supposed to happen with it. They were like, oh. Okay. And then they were back, ready to go inside and do whatever.
Yeah. That's exactly how my kids were. Like they were like looking up, they were like, it's the moon. That was their entire impression. It's the moon. Yeah. And I was like, but it's not. It's the sun shaped like and they didn't. But one of them was just like, can I go inside now? And I was like, no, you have to stay outside till it's completely over. He was like, but can I go inside now?
Maybe the next one that goes, was it like 2044 or something like that?
Maybe they'll be old enough to appreciate it. Because I appreciated it. I liked that kind of eerie, like, why is it this, color outside today? But here's the real question I have to ask. Who looked at it with no glasses on, even accidentally? Right?
100%. Yeah.
Like at one point I was like blinking and I was like, oh no.
That's why they tell you not to do it.
I can still see it. So yeah, lots of accidental peeking at the solar eclipse, but I'm a rule breaker if nothing else. So, all right, now let's talk about things people actually want to hear. Michelle, you are president, period, because I know we have a 3-year cycle at KASFAA. Yes. So tell us a little bit about that, and then also tell us what is a president's job. Okay. And then tell us a little bit about KASFAA as an organization.
Sure. So this is my second go round as president. So I'm going to have 6 years total.
Wow.
Girl.
You have a year as president-elect to basically watch and see and learn. Then you're president and you are running the organization, which sounds like a lot. But when you have great people and you have a good board, it's just making sure that everyone's where they need to be at the right time. So it really is an easy job. And then you have the year as past president where you get to just sit back and relax and, watch everyone else go crazy. Right. But yeah, my first year was during COVID. So I thought, you know what, I'd like a normal year, which ended up not happening.
Is there normal anymore?
I've decided that there are no normal years. Right. I'm done. Right. But yeah, so KASFAA is, we were founded in the late 60s when some financial aid administrators saw the need to have a place for us to come together and support each other, have training, have a place to communicate. This year is the best example of the need for it. Yep. Things are changing on a daily basis with FAFSA and Department of Ed. And so to have that network of people that understand and can work together and, hey, I heard this, what did you hear? And just to make sure that we're kind of on the same page.
Sure. Yeah. I love to hear it sitting in like the board meetings and just being around you guys. Cause Keith and I have a unique perspective because we're not in an aid office, so then but we're part of this organization. And so just sitting around and listening to you guys saying like, well, what's everyone doing about this? Well, my president wants to do this. What is your president wanting to do? Well, how are y'all managing that? Like, I love the collaboration and the info sharing that happens in this group.
I think it's the best because, like you mentioned, we're so much on the front end, right? Like, in the outreach department at Kia, it's like we get to see like up until the climax of the movie. Now we get to see the end of the movie, on your
through
end.
you guys.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and what I love about financial aid. So when you go to a campus, admissions, I don't feel like that they can have the ability to have the collaboration and that camaraderie that we do because it's you're all fighting for the same students.
Sure.
Financially, we're all in it for the same reason. We just want to make higher ed affordable and attainable for everyone.
Right.
And so there's not that competition. Yeah.
It is a great perspective. Yeah. Because once they come to you, really, they usually
have decided.
Sold.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's awesome. Yeah. So part of your job as president is kind of overseeing conference.
Yes.
And you may or may not have had a co-chair who was marginally helpful. It was me, only slightly helpful. So the setup is you kind of head it all up, but you do place co-chairs. And so at fall conference, I remember I have been wanting to get involved. I love KASFAA so much, and I've been wanting to get involved for years, and they've just never really wanted me. And that's just a joke.
I wanted you.
I was going to say. And then I had talked to Michelle because I knew she was president. And I said, hey, I want to get involved somehow. And she said, I have an idea. And she said, do you want to be conference co-chair? And I was like, ooh, I meant like dip my toes, not like dive right in. But I was like, sure. You know me. I say yes to just about anything. So I'm conference co-chair along with Kathy Hart from BCTC, who... Kathy has carried a lot of weight. Yeah. Yes. We both had like family members in surgery and Kathy just like jumped right in and took over. So tell us a little bit about conference planning, how that has gone. Feel free to speak freely about me if you need to.
No.
Yeah. Cassie, do you mind leaving the room?
Yeah. Let me leave the room and let her talk about how she really feels.
That is one of the things that you have to do as president is you have to look at the people around you and that are part of the organization and just get a sense of where their strengths are. And I was like, oh, Cassie is amazing. Like her energy. And so when I was trying to find co-chairs,
it's a lot of coffee.
I was like, Cassie will bring a great energy. And I think with the outreach aspect of your job, I was like, that's going to be awesome with the year that we're going into and all the changes that are happening to be able to bring that perspective. So to bring co-chairs together, we do have a conference committee that helps.
Absolutely.
A good team of people, amazing.
It's like a well-oiled machine at this point. Like I've never seen something come together as seamlessly as this did. It was like, oh, the hotel's already done and here are the menus and let's just go over those real quick. It was very seamless. Yeah.
Well, and so we started planning back in December. That was when the first meeting for spring was. And, this one I think was harder because we were like, okay, what topics? What's going to be hot?
Right.
And what was hot in December has shifted. And, I think we did really well with, we've got some general sessions that are going to talk about FAFSA 4 months in. So we can talk about where we are today instead of in December.
Where we were.
And then we've got a lot of the meat that, you're going to need no matter what is happening. So, but the conference chairs, they pull together decorations, they pull together activities, the presenters, the conference committee helps with that. But yeah, it's a lot of work, and it does. It's just it's like a dance, and it just kind of happens.
And you look at it, at least from my perspective, I looked at it in December, and I was like, "How are we going to do this?" But then it does just fall. Yeah. It really falls into place and happens. And Michelle's probably like, "Well, that's because somebody had to do it, and it wasn't you." So, so it was getting done. But one session that I love that we're doing is, we had kind of tossed the idea around of birds of a feather, and that's what we've internally been calling it, but I think we called it where birds of a feather
central perch. So the theme of the conference is friends. So we had started out with a different theme, and then I think Cassie was the one that came up with the idea. She's like, we need to pivot, and we need to be together and support each other, and it just, the theme is perfect.
It really
where we are in
I remember making that phone call because we had said, like, okay, the theme is decades, and I was not in my car, not driving, and not researching decades themes for events. And then I started thinking, okay, what if I could change the theme? What would I change it to? And that's where I said, we really need to pivot, need friends supporting. And I remember calling Michelle, and it was like January. Yeah. I mean, it was like way too late for this. And I said, how often does someone change the theme this late in the game? And Michelle was like, and Michelle was like, what? And I said, what about this? And then we got on the phone and we started calling people, and we went to the program committee, and
I was absolutely sold.
And everyone was like, yeah, this works. And it is, I've had so much fun with this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, even our little names.
So much fun. And, coming up with like teasers about the conference and pulling, things from the Friends show, and, even my, the opening speech. The speeches are easy to write when you can pull from friends.
And the trivia game, the live team trivia that we're doing, that's all about friends. Yes. So we went into that. We launched into that because we were talking about Central Perch.
Oh yes, so Central Perch, where Friends of a Feather flock together, I think is something
what we came up with. Yeah.
And so we're bringing in experts from different topics, and we're going to be able to almost like speed dating, where you can go and talk to and ask questions of those specific people. Sometimes it's easier to ask the questions when it's just a table of 1 or 2 or 3 people than in a room of 50.
Or sending an email and having a, 30
emails are so
thread.
hard to get across what you're saying. And in financial aid, it's so hard because you can say things and they read a different way, and every situation is so specific to the individual in financial aid. So,
and I think that session is so timely right now that you can have 10 minutes with the expert from that area, and you look at the options and you say, okay, I need to ask somebody some professional judgment questions, and you go to that table and you get your 10 minutes to sit with that expert. This season of financial aid, we could not have had a better session, I don't think.
I love the idea of, small group discussions, especially, in the world of financial aid. Very rarely is there like a very direct, concise answer to any question, right? We always joke in financial aid.
It depends.
Yeah, it's a lot of it depends. It's a yes, but, and then fill in the blank with anything else that would, totally just throw that out the window. Yeah. So I love the idea of the back and forth conversation in small groups. I think that's a game changer.
Right. So we're so excited for conference. They kind of unleash us in Lexington tonight, and we go to different restaurants in Lexington, and again, just networking and hanging out, which is one of the best aspects of this organization. Finally, Michelle, before we move on, we're going to shift. We're going to pivot a little bit and talk more about just working in an aid office. But before we do that, why should someone be a part of KASFAA? If I am a financial aid professional out there, or if I'm a vendor, or if I am even in another state, a bordering state, and I'm listening to this podcast because we have like a ridiculous amount of listeners. We're international.
That's awesome.
We're breaking news. We are now international. Mexico. Yes. Does anyone know how to say coffee with Kia in Spanish?
I do not.
I don't either. I don't either. Yeah. So if I'm just a listener, why should I listen to this and then go, I need to look into KASFAA and becoming a member of it?
Absolutely. Yeah, we live our mission. Our mission is to support and provide training and communication and collaboration for financial aid administrators We say serving the students in the state of Kentucky, but we have members that are in Florida and other states, and we're a fun association. We live a daily profession that is not necessarily fun, and
not light and airy. No,
so the support that we provide to each other, is you just need it. You need it, and
I agree.
To be able to continue and stay up to date on everything, and just be able to do your job. It's a family.
I agree. KASFAA fills my cup. Like I really like. I come to these conferences. I leave feeling like fulfilled. I leave feeling supported as I've become more involved and made stronger friendships and met more people. Like it really is.
And even more so this year with all the changes, it's like we're all learning everything from scratch.
Right.
Right.
We've got folks who have been in this for a long, long time, and
definitely.
It's like you're relearning everything.
Yep. Yeah, we have some 30 plus years, and they're right at the beginning with our new aid members that are in trainings right now.
Absolutely.
So
I know we've hired a couple new outreach counselors in the last 6 to 8 months, and I remember having conversations with them when they first came on board, saying how nervous they were. I'm like, well, to be honest, if you're going to start in this line of work, this is the great year to do it.
You know as much as I do.
Exactly. Yeah, we're learning all this together. So,
right. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit. Because, I mentioned earlier, Keith and I come from a unique perspective in that we are not in an aid office. We are not building financial aid packages. We are not being audited and monitored by the federal government. So talk to us a little bit about the last 6 months of living financial aid on a daily basis. You're a director, so it really is on you in an aid office.
Yeah. So
and you can speak freely here. Like we don't, we don't think DOE's listening. So
no audits and no program reviews.
Program reviews are probably at the end.
No, we, I'm a very small aid office, so fully staffed, we're 5 people. So, we are all hands on deck, doing everything. But in, the last 6 months, it's been really hard. So, aid packages from my office typically start going out mid-October. And so we've just been on pause. And so everyone else on campus is like, you don't have FAFSAs yet. So are you just sitting back?
Right. You have nothing to do.
And so, to make sure that everybody on campus understands that things with Department of Ed are changing daily.
Right.
Daily. Like Monday last week, we had an update. And then, by Wednesday, we had a webinar. And then Thursday, what was said on the webinar had changed. And so it's incredibly difficult to keep up. And this, this year especially. But again, I'm texting and calling my friends from KASFAA, and I'm like, did you hear this? So it's,
I know I cannot even count how many times I email like you and April and April Treader with Bellarmine and Audrey Price with Lindsay Wilson. And I'm like, okay, you guys are my financial aid go-tos. Here's my question. What do you think? I cannot tell you. And I wouldn't have this connection without KASFAA. But that's how we met.
Right. Well, and with the release, because the FAFSA started coming into schools in the last 2 weeks.
Right, the ICERs.
And so as we started to get those and we're looking at them, I'm like, wait a minute, are you seeing this? Are you seeing this? And so we were seing things before the Department of Ed was able to let us know. And so to have that group of people to know that we're not crazy.
Right.
And, to just, say, but what are you going to do? And so today or, this week is going to be really great to get a better gauge of what schools are doing. Are you sending out your letters? Are you pausing? Because we've now hit, and I think you're probably going to talk about this a little bit more later, but, are you pausing for a minute until the Department of Ed can fix what's happening? Because we want the most accurate information to go out. We want our families who have waited for 6 months to be able to make those decisions based on correct information.
Right. So. Yeah, I can't. I just, because I've been talking, Audrey Price that we mentioned from Lindsay Wilson, she and I are good friends. And so she and I talk a lot about, do you package on soft information and potentially get information out there to families that's incorrect? Or do you package, do you wait and make them continue to wait? And so the burden, and we've said this from the beginning, we are always pouring one out for our friends in the financial aid offices. The burden is on you.
Right.
And when the Department of Ed said, we're going to simplify the FAFSA, they meant for users.
Right.
And not for aid offices. Right. And you all caught the brunt of the, and so you're in our thoughts and prayers. I will buy you a drink tonight. Like, we support our financial aid, and I think we've said it 1,000 times on this podcast, even, like, support your aid offices. Yeah. Like, go easy on them, be understanding. They're just as frustrated as you are. Like, you all are the real heroes in this.
Yeah. I think I appreciate that message very much so, because I just think the message needs to be out there that we are doing what we can.
Absolutely.
And we are trying to get things out as quickly as possible, because we know that this is what people are waiting for, but we want it to be right.
Right.
And I get that. There's not really a right answer to any of this. You know, do you go ahead and send out the packages knowing that there's going to be some stuff that's going to have to go back to the drawing board, or do you wait? And I think the key is just getting that messaging out to the public, because, I think the general public who may not understand all the intricacies of the Department of Ed and waiting on this and that to get resolved, just making sure that they are hearing something from the college, I think, what I mean, is so crucial now as folks are continuing to wait and rightfully so. If I was a parent or a student and here we are in mid-April and we still are kind of figuring things out, I mean, that's a scary thing from their perspective.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know, and this may be what you're covering later, but breaking news, I think that next week there may be an opportunity for people to make corrections.
Wow.
So,
that is huge. And we are going to talk about, because I think the last time we were on a Coffee with Kia podcast 1 month or 3 weeks ago, I think it was, we said
we were with mid-April.
Right. So it should have been right now that opens. And we were at dinner last night with the KASFAA board. And I got a phone call, and it was this parent that I've worked with forever. And he was saying, like, Cassie, we cannot get back into our FAFSA. It's saying her signature wasn't accepted. We can't get back into our FAFSA. What do we do? And I was like, it's gonna reopen soon.
Right.
Like, and I said, first of all, it's not you. It's not anything you've done. He's like, I can't figure this out for the life of me. I'm sorry. I'm calling you. I should know by now. No, it's not you. It's the form, and it should open any day. So hopefully next week. We're able to make corrections.
And I'd say that's the most common thing that we've seen in outreach is a lot of folks had anxiety of thinking, did I mess something up? What did I do wrong?
Yes.
I mean, we're hearing it. Our staff hears it every day.
Yeah.
And that's just unfortunate, because, I mean, it's 99 times out of 100, they've done absolutely nothing wrong at all.
Yeah.
And, and we all know how it is on the FAFSA. Even if you did mess something up, it's a quick, easy fix in most years.
Exactly.
So it's, it's just a lot of that wait and see type of stuff that we've been experiencing.
That's the theme of the year,
months.
Right?
Yeah.
Delays.
Yeah. Just hope that this just means next year is going to be just easy as pie for students and schools.
From her mouth to God's ears. Here's hoping, Michelle.
Yes.
Here's hoping.
Yeah.
Well, on a more positive note, we've got an awesome conference ahead of us. Michelle has a big job that I probably should be doing some of. And so we are going to let her get back to her important work at the conference. But Michelle, thank you for being, dare I say, one of the best guests we've ever had.
Absolutely.
I mean, this was incredible. This was incredible. So thank you so much for your time, your insight, and the hard work that you do, the good work that you do every single day in the aid office.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you. It's been fun.
Awesome.
Appreciate you.
We're going to take a little break. We're going to have a word from our sponsor, also Kia. And we will be back to talk more FAFSA updates, breaking news, FAFSA completion numbers, all the things that you have just been holding your breath to hear. We'll be back.
Did you know the money you need for college is right here in Kentucky? Some families will need to borrow student loans to help cover college expenses. The Kentucky Advantage Education Loan, offered by Kentucky's only nonprofit lender, offers a low-cost, fixed-rate, zero-fee private loan. If you need to borrow, choose wisely. Choose the Kentucky Advantage Loan.
And we're back. Welcome back to Coffee with Kia, where I get 2 coffees and we give our guests none.
I mean, in all fairness, we did offer.
We did offer.
Yes.
We did offer. We were like, Michelle, I'll buy you a coffee.
I mean, you were mid-sip when you offered, but that's all right.
Right. Yeah. I was like, do you want this one?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, Michelle, we will buy you a coffee, or I will buy you a coffee. And she's like, no, it's fine. I'm like, okay, Keith, well, let's go and I'll buy you a coffee. And then we get there and I'm like, oh, by the way, I don't have my wallet. And I made him buy both of them.
She did the traditional, that's the oldest trick in the book.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. This one's on you. So, welcome back.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start. We just went off on a whole tangent. Okay. So, there has been so much going on in the FAFSA world.
Yeah.
So many updates, so many, just like Michelle was saying, changes daily. So really what we want to tell you, like Michelle said, we just want to reiterate that we think that FAFSAs will open for corrections next week-ish.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we're hearing now at this point. I know, last episode when we were in Owensboro for Kentucky ACAC, we had talked about mid-April.
Right.
It's mid-April. But yeah, I do think at least the fact that they are giving a time frame of next week for corrections to actually be up and available, that sounds better than the vague by the end of the month or, at some point in the next few months or whatever. So I know that's been a moment that I know our students and families have been really waiting for a long time for that. So that's exciting news. I would say that's probably the biggest news that I've heard in a while.
I agree with that.
Stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And there's actually, so we're filming this on Wednesday, April 10th, I think. 10th?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on today. Right this minute, the president of NASFAA. So NASFAA is the national organization of what we're doing right now. So it's the National Association for Student Financial Aid Administrators. The president of NASFAA is actually testifying right now to the House Education Committee, essentially saying, like, we got to get this together. Like, for the students' sake, we've got to get this FAFSA thing together. And then at 1 Eastern time today, there is a federal update where the feds are actually going to get on a webinar and tell us, hopefully good things, hopefully good updates, hopefully information about FAFSA submission summaries and corrections and the errors that have been found that are coming about. And then now that we're able to download ICERs, we are across the state. I'm hearing, good news about not all of the ICERs, but that ICERs are rolling in.
Yeah.
But with that, we're discovering more errors. So hopefully today we get some good news.
Yeah, and they've been rolling through now for a couple weeks. And then shortly after that, there was an announcement up until late March. So things that were previous of that date. So before, I want to say March 21st or something along those lines. Yep. That there was a glitch somewhere in that system where there was some incorrect data getting pushed through in terms of your student aid index, which also would impact how much aid you would theoretically receive. Right. So they've had to kind of redo some stuff and kind of repackage. And so they kind of had to do a little bit of a do-over. Yeah. So.
And I am hearing one good thing, and this has come from the last couple of days just being around the aid administrators in Kentucky. Financial aid packages in the state of Kentucky are beginning to come out. So you may be a student who is considering Center College. Center rolled out their aid packages because, and theirs is kind of twofold because, they are getting some ICERs and they're able to package on that, but also they require the CSS profile, which hasn't changed. So that's a document that asks a little bit more in depth about your financial situation. Right. And often private colleges, I'm sorry, I see one of my very good friends and she looks so pretty. Often the private colleges will use a CSS profile to kind of dig deeper into your financial situation. And so colleges who requested that from their students are able to send out very solid aid packages. But I'm talking to other colleges who don't use the CSS profile and they're also sending out aid packages. So it's happening. We are rolling out. I don't know how many colleges you will begin seeing your packages come from, your your aid notifications. We're not saying award letters anymore. Aid notifications. I don't know how many we're seeing that from, but there are a handful at least.
And that's great news. I mean, that means that we're getting closer. And I will say, if you are someone, if you've already submitted your FAFSA and, let's say you receive an estimated SAI or anything, honestly, from the actual like confirmation page, I would take it with a grain of salt. What I would be really waiting for is what comes from the college.
Right.
Because that's going to be
the
a lot closer
solid.
to the finished product of what you'll actually be looking at.
Right. That's the most solid information you're going to get right now.
Yep.
In other news, the DOE, the Department of Ed, and Federal Student Aid announced about a week and a half ago that next week is National FAFSA Week. So April 15th through 19th, let me say that again, April 15th through 19th. Yeah. Say it right this time. We as a nation will be making a concerted effort to raise awareness about the FAFSA, filing the FAFSA, to do a push for FAFSA completion, to provide FAFSA support across the nation. There was like a commitment form to commit your state to taking part in that.
Yeah, which we're happy to be a part of that here in Kentucky. And, part of the reason for this, because of the delay in the FAFSA and all of the issues that everyone has experienced, we're about 30% down. From where we would typically be mid-April.
Yes.
Now, we also have a shorter window of having this thing open.
Right. At this point in a regular year, the FAFSA would have been open for almost 6 months. Yeah, over 6 months.
Yeah.
But we're really only like 3.5 months into this cycle. Right. And so it makes sense that we're down. And then if you look week to week, so if you look 3.5 months into a regular cycle, Kentucky's actually up about 3%, which is even more than like where we are on a national level. Yeah. So that's good news. But you can't really just hang your hat on that. Right. Because we've got to make that ground up somewhere.
Yeah, it's got to come somewhere and it's got to happen. And that window of time is closing.
Very short window.
We're nearing the summer, so we've got to find a way to catch up. So that's kind of the reasoning behind this week of action at the national level. But, that's not a Kentucky issue only. I mean, most states are down. I was actually at a conference yesterday and a different conference in Louisville, and I was on a panel discussion, and there was a representative from Pennsylvania, and I think they said they were about 25% down from last year. So this is something states are experiencing across the country. So this is a hot topic conversation that everyone's trying to figure out, okay, where do we make this ground up?
Right.
So we're excited to help with that. Anything that we can do to shine a light on the importance of FAFSA completion, I think is a major win for students and families in Kentucky.
And I think the more the message gets out there, because I know at least some of the people I've spoken to are kind of like, well, I'm not going to file it yet because I hear there's a lot going on.
Right.
So, one of the things I think will help is like getting the word out there, like go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Like, there's enough glitches are worked out now that you should feel comfortable filing it now. The other thing, and then I actually had a conversation with Michelle about this yesterday, is she and I are both in the camp of, there were a lot of signature errors on the FAFSA. So if I was a mom filing a FAFSA and I had my student sitting there, the student might sign, and then when it got to my part, it wouldn't let me sign, or it would submit and then say, well, your signature
something's missing.
The signature is missing.
Yeah.
And that shows up as an incomplete FAFSA on the kind of the other side. And so Michelle and I were kind of conjecturing, when this thing opens up for corrections and people are able to correct this signature glitch, will we see a big jump in FAFSA completions? Because at that point, they will all be marked as complete.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because when we're talking about these percentages of being down roughly 30%, compared to a normal year at this point in the ballgame, a lot of it has to do with these halfway completed. Because I can tell you this from just our outreach department here at Kia. I pulled some numbers just this week. I mean, we've been a part of, our Kia outreach team has been a part of nearly 500 individual FAFSA workshops throughout the state of Kentucky. We've had almost 9,000 people in attendance at these FAFSA workshops.
And that's just our team. Months.
Right. Yeah, that's not every FAFSA, but that's a lot that our outreach team has been a part of. And I'm super proud of that. But I think every outreach counselor on our team would tell you that there was only a certain percentage of the folks who were at these FAFSA workshops who were able to get 100% to the finish line.
Right.
So I do think that once people are able to realize that some of these glitches are moving in the right direction, I think we'll get quite the jump. But we got to make sure that we are spreading the word. So if you work in financial aid or college access, help us spread the word as much as you can. As you mentioned, we're going to be doing a lot of social media promotion of FAFSA completion over the next few weeks, and even beyond that, even beyond the national push, we're going to be doing some extra things here in Kentucky.
Right. So we are kind of launching a social media campaign. The theme for April, in addition to National FAFSA Week of Action, which is next week, we are kind of doing a Don't Forget FAFSA for the month of April. And so you'll see lots of social media posts about not forgetting to file your FAFSA. Share those out. Get those out there. The month of May, our theme is going to be May the FAFSA be with you.
Love it.
The month of June, it's going to be School's Out, FAFSA's in.
There you go.
And then even into July, we're going to do Fun, Freedom, and FAFSA as our theme. And so there will be lots of social media posts about that. We're also doing some like actual kind of boots on the ground effort. One of those is we are encouraging our outreach staff to partner with their high schools in their area to do, this is kind of a tried and true method from the one and only Amy Marvin out of Northeast Kentucky, who retired from Kia last summer. And she built this senior checklist where our outreach staff goes into high schools and they have a group of seniors in front of them, and the seniors have a checklist of, have I applied to college? Have I checked my Keys account? Have I submitted my FAFSA? Have I completed verification if I was selected? Have I registered for an orientation event? Have I registered for classes? All the things. Have I done my loan counseling? And then there's also similar counterparts for students who are interested in the military, students who are going straight into the workforce. And that senior checklist, then we take all those papers and we give it to the senior counselor at that high school. So the senior counselor has a great snapshot of where their senior class is in the process and what each student specifically needs. And so that's kind of our outreach initiative for May, is to really encourage our outreach staff to get into those high schools and do those senior checklists. And then a new thing that we're going to try that we're really excited about is in the month of June, we are going to do statewide office hours. And so we're going to be encouraging places across the state, so college campuses, libraries, adult education centers, to agree to be a host site. And if you are a host site, then I am saying host site. If you're a host site, then you agree for 2 hours a week. We haven't nailed down those 2 hours a week, but for 2 hours a week, you have open office hours for FAFSA help. And so Kia will publish a list of the sites and the date and time, the days and the times. And at that point, any student or family member in the state of Kentucky can go to one of these sites and get expert FAFSA help. Yeah. And so we have we'll have the list of sites, we'll have the date and time, and it's kind of a concerted effort to offer that in-person support that families need during this time.
Yeah, and that's just crucial. And if you are a student or a parent watching this right now or listening to this, just know there is a plethora of resources available. Absolutely. We've got a team ready to help you every step of the way. So if you're not sure where some of these events and initiatives are happening in your neck of the woods, start with us. Go to kia.com. We have our contact information. You can reach out directly to Cassie or myself or any of our regional outreach counselors, and we'll be able to give you an idea of when we're going to be close to you. So don't feel like you have to travel far and wide to find FAFSA help. We've got folks living in every single region of the state of Kentucky who work as outreach staff for us at Kia.
We're doing the good work. We're working hard to get these FAFSAs completed, to get these students the support they need, the financial aid that they need to attend college. The wheels are rolling, guys. So get on this train, help us out, file your FAFSA. But you know what? Keith and I are going to wrap it up because we have a conference to attend.
That's right.
One that I am specifically excited about because I was up until 1 a.m. creating a trivia game for it. So thank you so much for joining us this time for Coffee with Kia. Thank you again to Michelle Standridge, our special guest today. We will not be gone so long next time. We don't have a spring break coming up. That's right. We will get another podcast out to you guys, hopefully with awesome, positive, happy updates.
That's right.
That even more better things are happening. Right. And until then, Keith, see you later.
That's right. Cheers.